What's the biggest shift you've noticed in how we, clients, consultants, contractors, supply chain, work together?
Without the supply chain, we literally have nothing.
It doesn't matter whether you're a contractor or a subcontractor or a subcontractor or a like we're all the same. We're all part of the supply chain, and the end goal is always what the client wants to achieve.
If everyone's on the same page of working together, then the end goal is always going to be a good result. If one link in the chain and someone isn't delivering and you start working in silos, that's where it all just breaks down.
Welcome to today's episode of Structure Tone's podcast series. Today we'll be talking about one of our core behaviours working together, especially in a market on the move. I'm joined by Scott Palmer, Divisional Commercial Manager for Structure Tone, and Jayson Crosley, Director at Turner & Townsend and Linear. For us as Structure Tone, the working together piece is really around the fact that we exist within a community of built environment professionals, and that critically includes our supply chain as well. Let's start with you guys introducing yourselves. Jayson, you can go first and you can tell me a little bit about yourself and how you've come to be in the role that you're in.
Originally at uni, I thought, cool, I want to be an architect or an engineer. I think like QSing wasn't really a big thing. I still don't think it's a big thing like in any market. I ended up job shadowing my mum's friend who is an architect, and I was like, oh God, these guys are on computers the whole time. Like, I don't want to be behind a computer the whole time.
The
irony.
I
was like, yeah, the irony. So I was like, this is definitely not for me. And then it was at that point where I had to choose something to go into for my degree. And I was like, oh, okay. I applied for engineering and I applied for construction management. So ended up doing the construction management route. As part of the degree, every summer you had to shadow for 6 weeks. And ironically, I was set up to go and job shadow and work with a contractor to be a contractor's QS.
Oh, you could have been one of us.
I could have been interviewing you guys.
You could have been.
What a time to be alive. And he pulled out like a week before, and it was part of my course curriculum. So if I didn't do this, I would have failed. I went to my lecturer and I was like, oh God, this is a bit of an issue here. And she's like, okay, let me speak to the people that have just graduated that are now working. And she put me in contact with a guy called Rob, and I forgot his surname now, but he had graduated 2 years before, and he worked at Turner & Townsend in Johannesburg. And yeah, met up with him, job shadowed him across both project management and cost management, and just kept coming back, kept folding drawings, kept making coffees, kept getting involved in projects. And 13 years later, here I am as a director in London.
But if you were working across project management and cost consultancy, how did you sort of choose one direction over the other? What was it that made that decision for you?
I knew that like numbers was definitely a strong point of mine, and that's why I wanted to go down the engineering route. Luckily, I had the flexibility to choose between project and cost management because I only chose that in my last year of uni. But yeah, it was the numbers thing. Having an element of control. Yeah, that's really what drove it for me.
But it's nice to have that perspective as well, that project management perspective, because I guess some folks go directly into
Just numbers.
quantity surveying, directly into the numbers.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, you're up. Tell us a little bit about your role here at Structure Tone and how you've come to be in it.
So when I was in sixth form, similar to Jayson actually, I was looking at being an architect or an accountant. And then there was a poster in the sixth form block that was quantity surveying. So I sort of went for one interview, which is a bit of a mix of both. It's got numbers plus some construction in it, for a company called RG Carter in Bury St Edmunds. Went there as an apprentice, did day release. So yeah, one interview, took the job, was there 6 years, and then came to Structure Tone London on Facebook Rathbone project as a surveyor. And I've been here 8 years. Now I'm divisional lead with Jack. So yeah, it's been a good journey. But yeah, it's quite similar with the architecture thing that you looked at. It just took a long time, and I didn't want to commit to 7 years of full-time uni. and the day release thing, which is very powerful in our industry, of doing that and having 5 years of experience, getting paid and learning at the same time. It was just, it was a win-win situation for me. So that's why I did it back then.
So you're in a professional services environment. I've come from a professional services environment. Coming into contracting world, what I see is we're not on the surface particularly diverse. Like, it is a very male-dominated field. But actually, if you go onto site, you see an incredible diversity, like socio-economic diversity, and people from all walks of life working together. Whereas if you are in a consultancy business, the reality is you are with sort of degree-educated folks who sort of all sound the same and talk the same. So I guess the question for both of you is, what's the biggest shift you've noticed in how we, clients, consultants, contractors, supply chain, work together?
We've definitely moved away from sitting around a table resolving issues as a collective group. I remember when I moved to London, like all of our project meetings were around the boardroom table, and we used to meet on a fortnightly basis, sometimes even on a monthly basis, and we would just resolve all the issues in the room. You always left there going, "Oh, that was really useful." And then I think COVID hit us, and I think it's actually a lot of people say it's been great for the industry, but I think it's actually it's hit us quite a lot, because everyone relies on Teams now, which is fantastic because it allows people to work from wherever they need to be, and you can squeeze in more in a day, but you don't have the attention of people. And I think it takes you 2-3 weeks to resolve the issue that could have taken you 5 minutes in a room. And I think there's definitely, it's more siloed now, where if I compare it to say 5 years ago, because everyone is in their office. So the engineers are there, the architects are there, the project managers and the cost managers are somewhere, the clients somewhere. You're not getting that human contact. And I think that's for me, I think that's a big shift that's gone backwards.
There's almost a false productivity there, because you might be meeting more frequently, but it's shorter sessions, folks who aren't sat side by side.
Especially from your side, I think you have more meetings now, though, don't you, than you would have 6 years ago. Like, remember the amount of projects that you take on. I don't think from our side it's much different. I think most people are always still in the room. I don't think from contracting side people are overcommitted, but I think from your side, I think there's a lot more meetings, and you see people. So the pressure's still on, because you haven't got to go to each individual office, but you've still got to be on 6-7 jobs rather than 5, which is, I understand that must be quite difficult.
And I think that just puts pressure on everyone's relationship, because there are times where I'm having to multitask, where you're on a call and it's an important call. And I see it with our clients all the time, where you're having a conversation with a client and then they go, "Oh, what? Sorry, I missed that." And you're like, "Did you miss that because you were doing something else, or did you miss it because I'm not speaking right?" And 9 times out of 10, it's because they were doing something else. And I think we're all guilty of that. Like, if you're in a room, it's very hard to be doing something else. But I think that puts a lot of pressure on everyone's relationship. My relationship with it, what's Scott?
Yeah, and I think that's where the trust and working together actually comes into play.
Yeah.
Because if you don't trust what we're doing as a team, then you're going to have to be all over it. Whereas if you go to those meetings, I know you might not necessarily be in the room, but if you understand and you trust the process of what we're saying is right, then you don't necessarily have to be there. So I think that is the world we're in now, where if we're not working together and you don't trust us, then it makes it all a lot more difficult.
What's interesting is when I asked that question, I just assumed that the answer would be there is more collaboration nowadays because we've got all of these tools and systems at our disposal. And ironically, this is the second day that we're talking about a post-pandemic world. I think people grew tired of talking about it, but the reality is that it's completely changed the way that we work.
Definitely.
And we've not quite got a handle on it. It's not quite going back to how things were before, but I don't think there's like a learning from that period and doing things better. This is a good segue into, I guess, what are those small changes that we can make, those sort of small behaviors that you've seen really help collaboration and working together?
From like my side is being involved in the project as early as possible. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be the successful tenderer, but with cost planning, drawings, logistics plans, like the more main contractors can help consultants, which ultimately helps the client, that side of working together, I think, has come a long way in the last sort of 3 years, rather than not sort of sharing information. It's look, it's going to be 5 people, these are the tenders, but you're getting ahead of stuff, because sometimes tenders are quick and you only have like 2-3 weeks to turn stuff around. Other times you have a long period of time, which is a luxury. Well, I think the more we can help earlier on in any sort of project just makes things so much easier, because you can market test things, you can test strategy, and ultimately the cost plan exercise and things like that is all done up front, and there's not as many surprises. But I think with that, there's a lot of trust and collaboration that needs to happen between a lot of parties. But I think that's really improved in this last sort of 3-4 years from my sort of perspective, is the trust and transparency between consultants and main contractors is, this building, this is roughly going to be in there. So you can get ahead of it, which ultimately means the end product is a lot better because everyone's had more time spent on it.
Going back to the original question, what can we do to improve that collaboration? I think, as you said, we've got the tools. We developed like the tech advancements over the last 2-3 years has been fantastic. But I think it's using those tools, going back to the brilliant basics of being in a room. I think that's what's going to just deliver fantastic results. And I don't think we're doing that because everyone is so busy. And yeah, I think back to your point of you're a contractor. So there is your sort of bandwidth is fairly limited by what you can do. Whereas I think as consultants, the more tech advances and the more remote meetings you have, the more you can fit into a day. The more projects you can do. Is it the best service? Do we, at what point do we say, look, I actually want everyone in, like if I was a client, I would say I want my meetings in person
every time.
Table.
Yeah.
And let's have fewer of them. But I just think using tech is great, and I'm a huge tech advocate, but nothing beats that human interaction.
Going back to the behavior piece, it's also about those, I guess, soft interactions that aren't about that meeting. It's being able to spend time with people, build relationships, build rapport, that tacitly builds trust too. I guess the success of a project is based on a million little decisions and actions. And if you go, well, that's just not my bag, that's not what I'm hired to do, you don't have that feeling of a sort of a collective project vision, and you're pulling in the same direction, and you want to know that people that you're working with.
Yeah, the best projects are always the ones where the consultant, the client, everyone just gets on. But if you all collectively work together and you know the end goal is X and the design team are in the room and everyone's in the room and you have to bring the cost down to that number. And sometimes it's not just cost. Sometimes you'll have a design intent that we can't deliver within program or whatever it may be. The best results come when everyone does work in the same room and gets the end goal.
On the topic of working side by side, physically side by side in the same space, it's definitely a trend that we've seen come up. This idea of actually co-locating, especially in like a pre-construction period, getting everyone in a room together. I think that's also being governed by procurement routes. We won't get into that now, but you know, where we are taking on responsibilities outside of just building, it really does help to get in a space, you know, commit to and invest in a physical space where we all just work together and run that project that creates a sense of focus, I guess, around that project. And it doesn't mean like we're all scattered in our own individual offices around London or running ourselves ragged trying to get to meeting. So it's an interesting theme, but also quite a simple thing to create a culture of collaboration. In your experience, Ms. Scott, maybe you want to start this one. When does it work really well and why? Because we talk a lot about sort of supply chain partnerships and working closely with our supply chain. What is a practical example of that working really well on a day-to-day basis on a project?
Without the supply chain, we literally have nothing. So but it's managing those relationships. So the best teams and the best projects that I've worked on has been exactly that. So there's certain levels of management within the supply chain piece. So they have a manager, there'll be the boots on the ground, they have a manager, they don't want to make mistakes for that manager, and then that manager doesn't want to make mistakes for it. And it's sort of, if everyone has that sort of headspace from the start to the end, and everyone works together, a lot of people on those levels we don't even see, if that's working together, then the hierarchy of the directors all working together makes sense, and it makes things a lot simpler. So you starting from the bottom, working all the way to the top, and then the relationship we'll be having with Jayson, because the job will be going really well, so the relationship just gets stronger, because if everyone's on the same page of working together, then the end goal is always going to be a good result. If one link in the chain and someone isn't delivering and you start working in silos, that's where it all just breaks down. But it's a very hard thing to balance, because you're not always going to have a supply chain that's working really well. But if people understand that and we work with them to get them back on track, rather than just being, oh, you're late, it's all on you. Yeah, okay, we understand the problem. How do we fix it? And working together on that respect will mean we understand and we'll still hit the end date. But the days of just going, no, it's all your responsibility, we get that, they understand that. If they have that mentality of understanding and owning their order, and they come to the table and go, look, we've got a problem, how do we fix it? And we're all collectively like, let's fix it. Then that's where the best projects come, and that's where the good quality comes as well, because you're not just stumbling across the line, which is really improved in the last sort of 3-4 years, especially at Structure, working with supply chain, paying people on time, all these good things, which is what we should be doing anyway. The more we do it, the more projects we hopefully win, the better quality we deliver, the more we hand over on time, if we respect the supply chain and have good partners. So yeah, it has really helped in the last sort of 3-4 years. And even with when you've got issues on site, etc., if everyone gets the collective problem, then working together helps.
Because you're a degree removed from that and those sort of on-site relationships, but you must have identified some sort of common trait or common quality that exists when a project is just happening well.
As much as you say I'm removed from it, I definitely am from a trades perspective.
Yeah.
And I think I'm trying to bridge that gap. I'm trying to form relationships with the trades, because I think having that relationship with the trades also helps me, and I'll be really honest here, but it helps me test the trust of Scott. Or the contractor's QS. And I like doing that. It's just that sense check. But at the end of the day, we spoke about supply chain. I am also a member of the supply chain.
Yeah.
I'm a part of the supply chain. You guys are the contractors.
Yep.
They're the subcontractors. I'm one of the consultants. I'm still the supply chain. So everything you just said, it resonates. It's exactly, it doesn't matter whether you're a contractor or a subcontractor or a subcontractor or a like, we're all the same. We're all part of the supply chain, and the end goal is always what the client wants to achieve.
We're collectively accountable.
Yeah, everyone, yeah. And if everyone is, then it's easy, isn't it? But it's when people start working in silos and they're going off in different directions and not understand what the client actually wants and coming together. That's always where jobs not foul, but that's where there's always bumps in the road.
But what clients always want, the problem is clients don't always know what clients want.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. And back to the supply chains thing, the client also has multiple different people in their organization who I see as being part of the supply chain. You've got someone looking after AV, someone looking after catering, someone looking after sustainability. Those are all people part of the supply chain. And if there is no clear leadership and directive from the top to say, group, this is what we are trying to achieve, this is what I want, this is when I want it by, this is what I'd like to spend. If you don't have that, that's when the supply chain starts having issues, because as soon as there's any ambiguity in the brief, you got problems.
Where you've had projects where you don't have that clear leadership, how do you guide a client team through that?
We step into the leadership position. If you start at the most junior level, you always want to impress your line manager and your line manager and your line manager and your clients and it's all the same people. It's always the person above you. So if there is no one above you that is making the decision, make the decision.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's controversial, but I think we're in an industry where a lot of the time there isn't a right or a wrong decision. There's just a decision that needs to be made.
The time it takes to make that decision is more important than whatever decision you're
100%,
taking.
yeah.
Yeah.
If we need quick decisions and there's program involved, we're not going to take 2-3 weeks to price it. We're all professional enough individuals to be able to look at a drawing and go, right, Jayson, we're giving you a price and a program impact in 24 hours, rather than drag it out for 2 weeks. Let's do it 24 hours, 2 days. Right, this is the magnitude of what that change is.
We are seeing a surge of mega projects coming to the market in the next 3 years. I'm hearing the word unprecedented banded around. In my lay understanding, big projects, lots of them, limited contractors to deliver, limited consultant groups to, I guess, guide that process, and a really stretched supply chain. We're going to have to rethink how we go about this. Is that a fair statement?
I think, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we've won a couple of major projects in the market, and part of our role is to know what everyone else is doing, and that's why I'm speaking to the likes of you guys and other contractors in the market, but also speaking to the subbies. It all goes back down to the sort of site management and the design management. How do you ensure quality and consistency across? That's where I think we're going to have to get to. I think it's pretty exciting. Maybe it's naive of me to say this, but I think it's pretty exciting to be a subby in the London market, because yes, you've got to have cash in the bank to break into the London market, but I think if you can break into it and you can break into that sort of 15 million mark space, you will thrive in London if you run your business properly.
Especially in how volatile the market is. You have got some really, really good subcontract partners that are just sort of 5-10 million pound businesses. But to scale up is a big thing. And to scale up, you've got to get probably double the staff. There's a lot more risk. But yeah, you're right. If we do work in partnership with these people and we do support them through that, then we will have more supply chain coming up through the market.
How do we, as main contractors, support that process?
How do we support our supply chain?
Yeah.
Well, the main one's being fair and reasonable, working with them, paying them on time, just doing the basics. So if they're thinking they're going to be overstretched, we can support them to, and also making sure they're not over delivering in the sense of what they're saying they can actually do. I think it's just supporting them in that way, rather than having a contract and just passing everything down to the subcontractor before we actually sign an order. Get everyone around the table. This is in your scope. This is where we are. Are you happy with it? Rather than trying to slide things into contracts, and work together on that side, so everyone's joined up before the contract goes out. I think that goes a long way anyway, and it makes everyone join up. And the risk that they are buying into, everyone's agreed it.
I think you can be smart about it, and I think you can have a central project management and cost management team. Obviously, it depends on the size of those businesses. This is not a marketing exercise, but I think it makes sense to have an element of a central business at the top, and then to split it out. But again, it depends on the project size. Like, you might even have more than 2, you might have 3. You might even have a point where you just completely split them up and have completely different teams. But and I said this earlier, if you do not have a strong leader at the top giving clear direction to their supply chain and their supply chain and their supply chain, you're going to fail. So at the end of the day, you need that strong leader.
We are seeing a lot more building repositioning, building refurbishment happening,
Yeah.
and concurrent fit outs to that. How often are we in a building where there's
Always,
still
yeah.
exactly, and it's certainly a trend. We've seen an upward trend in that, in the opportunities that come through the door. That's already testing that sort of collaboration. This just sort of reframes it slightly. You know, it's instead of baseball contractor, fit out contractor collaborating, you've got two fit out contractors.
Yeah.
But I think we have to start having these conversations, sort of start exploring these ideas. I'm not seeing a total shift in thinking. You know, we can see the surge coming. And I guess the reaction to that surge is early partnerships. Let's just start talking to contractors earlier so that they can tee up their supply chain so that we can secure. It's almost like a race to engagement, if you will, rather than kind of rethinking the model totally.
To be really blunt, like I said, we've won a couple of big jobs, and they're like, okay, we want to start speaking to contractors now. I'm like, hey, you don't even have a stage 1 design. Like, what are you doing? Let's just be calm and collective here. Let's understand our brief. What do we want to achieve here? And again, I keep going back to, well, who's that leader? If you've got a leader that just wants to go and go, oh man, just take a step back. But let's be calm. Let's be collective. Let's get back to those brilliant basics. Let's design Reba 1, Reba 2. Start thinking about a contractor. Make sure your design is as robust. Like we could cut and carve this project however we want. We can have 50 different contractors. Yeah, if you've got a terrible design, you're going to be in a world of problems. But do those jobs properly at the beginning, and then speak to contractors.
I guess the nature of that engagement is what we're discussing. That early engagement is we are consultants in our own right. We are consulting a professional team on buildability, supply chain, all of that stuff.
We just need to be good at what we need to do. I think we spoke about this earlier, everyone being a lot busier than what we should be. We see it in the design. A Reba 3 design and a Reba 4 design is not what a Reba 3 or a Reba 4 design is. A lot of that just goes over to the contractor, CDP, Bosch, you'll sort it out. There's certain things that are worth engaging you for, and there's certain things that we should be doing in our baseline scope of service. And I think we're missing that.
Because we've also discussed protracted pre-construction PCSA periods. Yeah. Looking at opportunities far in advance of hitting site, and we are going through sort of pricing exercise. How do we hold those prices for that period of time? You know, are there other strategies that gives you cost certainty over a protracted period of time? Are there creative ways to look at it?
The biggest thing is actually securing the teams from the supply chain, especially for the jobs you're looking at that are a long way away. So not necessarily just the rates, it's the teams and tying down the teams.
If you're tying down teams early on,
you're
creating this panic, this bubble in London. It's like we're no different to the people that panic.
No, but that's the thing, isn't it? You don't want to, and I do it with my supply chain, I want to know the people rather than just the company. It's like you can buy anything, can't you, if it's not got the right team on it. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is making sure the right teams, because you might have the right company can deliver it, but if the team hasn't done a 400,000 square foot job before, then would you want to put all your eggs in that basket? That's more what I was sort of getting at.
Are there major reforms that are required in our industry to create a more sustainable, resilient, fit-out market?
I think if there was one reform needed, I think it's just pace. I think there is so much emphasis on time now. Just get it done. And that is creating, I think, all of the issues. I think if everyone just took a step back, was a little bit more collective in their approach, we would be able to give you a much better design that is much more coordinated. You can go and buy it, regardless whether it's 2-stage or whether it's single stage. I still value both of those procurement routes. I still think there's absolute benefits of both of them. And people that say let's get rid of single stage procurement, I'm like, absolutely not.
If you've got a good design, you've got time, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, exactly. But the design is not what it should be. The cost plan is not as detailed as it could be. The program that we are giving you guys is not as detailed as it could be, because the client wants to do it a lot faster. And we are all trying to evolve and adapt to that. And I think we've done a damn good job at it. Like, London has, I'd love to, and maybe this is a bit of homework that I need to go and do, but the speed at which we build here is just incredible. Incredible. And the amount of snags we have at at the end is fairly minimal. So to answer your question, it's time. Just let's all take a little bit longer.
I don't
I
think
agree.
that's a contentious topic at all. I think that there is total agreement. It's just sensible timeframes. Today's discussion has been really lively, and I've certainly enjoyed it. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been awesome, guys.
Like these mics, they're cool, aren't they?
They're so cool.
I've got one in my room.
Have you?